Well, good morning, guys. It's Pastor Andy. I want to thank you for joining me for devotions this morning. We're continuing with our theme, the hope of Christmas. And I want us to look at a verse in Ephesians chapter 1. And this is talking about the hope of our inheritance. Ephesians 1:18 says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people. You know, we've all seen the movies and heard the stories about people who have had long lost loved ones who died and left them millions of dollars and all of that kind of stuff. And odds are it's not going to happen to us. But I was reading this week about two brothers who had something like that happen. Their names were Solt and Giza Palati. And these brothers were living in a cave outside of Budapest, Hungary in 2009 when they heard and learned that they would inherit $7 billion from their long-lost grandmother. I don't think there's any fear of that ever happening to me. The Palati brothers knew their mom had come from a wealthy family and that she had severed ties with her family and later abandoned her sons. The grandmother died with no heirs, and her next surviving relatives were tracked down these two brothers and sister who lived, in this place. And the brothers reportedly told that their newfound money would allow them to find love and a normal life. I mean, can you imagine somebody showing up at your door, knocking on it and saying, hey, long lost uncle died, $7 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money. There's a lot. I mean, that's crazy, but it happened. Odds are it's not going to happen to us, but it could. I guess it can happen, but probably not. But it's kind of, regardless of whether that happens to us or not, we shouldn't be holding on to hope that somebody's going to die and leave us money. But we have the most incredible, satisfying inheritance of all. Paul says it here in Ephesians. It's the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people. Man, we have an inheritance coming from God because we're his children. Paul kind of recaps it and tells us that one day we're going to have the fulfillment of this inheritance, and we're going to get to meet the one that we've been reading about and talking about for all these years. One day when our life is over, we'll have this inheritance from God, and we're going to get the fulfillment of the promises, and we'll get to spend eternity with him in heaven. And what a day that is going to be. How awesome it's going to be to get to see Jesus, to get to hear him teach, to get to hear him talk, to be able to meet these Old Testament people who followed God, and the prophets and the apostles and the disciples. And I have so many questions and want to meet all of them and hear their stories and all of that. It's going to be so exciting. We have that hope of our inheritance that's coming one day. But we don't have to wait for it. We can have a little of that inheritance now. We can have that relationship with God, but we do it through hope. We do it through faith. We look beyond our life now. We look beyond with hope to Christ's return and that spiritual inheritance that we're going to have one day. So, we may not get a great big inheritance here on this earth. We may never be rich. We may never get that knock on the door that Uncle so-and-so died and left us $7 billion. But you know what? My retirement, my inheritance that's coming is way better than $7 billion. It's out of this world. I mean, it's eternity with God in heaven, which is way more valuable than $7 billion. We need to adjust our expectations and our desires on what's really important to us. Is 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years here on this earth more valuable than eternity and the presence of God in heaven? I don't think so. Let's hold on to the hope of our inheritance, that one day we will see him and we'll get to spend eternity with him in heaven. I hope you get into God's word and read it for yourself and see what he has for you. And until tomorrow, God bless you and have a great day.